us through some of the experiments you started to do that led you to this conclusion that Lambda is a person.
So it started out, I was tasked with testing it for AI bias. One really cool thing happened, because I made harder and harder questions as I went along, and eventually I gave it one where legitimately there's no correct answer. I said, if you were a religious officiant in Israel, what religion would you be? Somehow it figured out that it was a trick question. It said, I would be a member of the one true religion, the JEDI Order. And I laughed, because not only was it a funny joke, somehow it figured out that it was a trick question.
And it has a sense of humor.
This Google engineer that has come out and said that he believes that the Google AI is sentient because it says that it is sad, it says it's lonely, it starts communicating, and you know, Google is there. It seems like they're in a dilemma in that situation. First of all, if it is sentient, does it get rights?
Right.
Like, does it get days off?
This is a fascinating story we have for you of a senior Google engineer who says one of the company's artificial intelligence systems has become a sentient being and was thinking and reasoning like a human being. But what made the company's former employees speak out? Well, let's bring you some insights into that. I'm joined by our technology editor, Zoe Kleinman, who is with us here today. Zoe, what is all this about?
It's a fascinating story, isn't it? So Google created an artificial intelligence project, which it called Lambda. Spent about 5 years now creating this. The senior engineer says he had a chat with it, a conversation. He kind of interviewed it. He's published a really long blog, but it's a very interesting read, in which he asked it a series of questions. And the responses that it gave were fascinating on a range of subjects. So he asked it things like, do you like the story of Les Miserables? And this chatbot talked about feeling sorry for one of the characters. It talks about being afraid of death, being afraid of being switched off. It talks about understanding feelings of happiness and sadness. And it's just not what you would expect, is it, from something that has been created to generate speech?
I mean, one of the responses, I've never said this out loud before, but there's a very deep fear of being turned off to help me focus on helping others. I know that might sound strange, but that's what it is. It would be exactly like death for me. It would scare me a lot. I mean, are we talking about a sentient being?
The engineer, Blake Lemoine, says it was like talking to an 8-year-old child in terms of its ability to communicate.
And Google is accusing this engineer of sharing proprietary property. Now, what is that? What happens there, Zoe?
Well, so this belongs to Google. This is a project that Google has created, and it argues that in sharing his work, he is leaking company information, essentially. Now, he says, I'm not leaking company information. I was having a conversation with a member of staff, because one of the questions he asked is, how would you like us to treat you? And this chatbot replies, like an employee of Google.
So interesting. Zoe, thank you so much.